Obamacare in the courts, the last big suit brought by these nuns. They run a nursing home for the poor in Denver and must hire people through a nonprofit to do so. But as a nonprofit, they are required to provide contraceptive coverage in their insurance. It is part of Obamacare. Last week here, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, an Obama appointee, delayed that law until the court could hear the case. Friday, the administration filed papers with the court urging it to reject the nuns' claim. This comes on top of the Hobby Lobby case the court heard this past fall. The owners of that craft chain store have their own religious objections providing contraceptive coverage. And it's interesting, Andrea, how this thing will play out, because you understand that there's a sympathetic, at least to the nuns here, you understand that there's going to be a religious objection to it. At the same end, they also pointed out Planned Parenthood, that 27 million people are going to get coverage as a consequence here in terms of reproductive care.
There's a distinction to be made here, though. There's three separate groups that are affected by Obamacare when it comes to contraception. One is religious organizations, the church. The church doesn't have to provide contraception coverage. That's been cleared through Obamacare from the start. On the other side, there are private employers, which they said, yeah, you absolutely have to. Anybody who runs a business, you have to do it. That's what's being challenged in Hobby Lobby. The middle ground is these nonprofits, including the group that the nuns have founded here. This is not actually a church or religious organization. It's a nonprofit. So the court now being asked in two of the three areas, should we have to cover this?
That's a really important distinction. If you have a religious objection to contraception as a not-for-profit, well, suppose you have a genuine religious objection to homosexuality, or to black folk, or religious groups. Genuine.
Yeah.
It's a religious precept. Does that mean that you can refuse to hire them? Just as a nonprofit? When a religious institution moves into the economy or the social fabric of the nation doing non-religious things, it seems to me to be very hard to say that they don't have to live by the rules everybody else lives by.
But you know, you're questioning the cases in that middle ground. The court took the case of the regular company, Hobby Lobby, which is just a regular employer. It's not a religious-based organization at all. It's just that their owners happen to be very religious and don't want to have to provide that contraception.
The notion that a corporation has a religion, even Scalia is going to have a tough time on that one.
Well, if you consider a corporation to be a person, then it's easy enough to say that it can have a religious bent.
You know, I think that it is a big slippery slope. If you start to say, and we talked about this before, if you start to say that I own a business and I can say I object to sending troops to Afghanistan, so I don't want my tax money to go there, and it's a religious objection, can I do that? I mean, can I say that, you know, that becomes a huge problem. You know, I may object to the public schools. I don't want to pay taxes that go there. I mean, we've had a long history of the federal government saying, you can't make that objection. These are decisions that are made at the federal level, and you have to pay those taxes at the individual level. And my feeling is, if you start to allow corporations to say that they have religious objections to funding, that becomes a real issue. So I think it's going to be, but I think Sonia Sotomayor made the right decision to bring this to court, by the way. I think she was absolutely right in her decision, and I think they will probably come to some middle ground on it, but I think that it would be very hard-pressed for them to say that you can opt out for religious reasons to a federal law. Then you got to look at the law itself for everybody across the board.
I'm with Brodsky and I'm with the professor on this one. It's a slippery slope. Where does it stop? Where do you draw the line? And he's right. There are going to be some people that are going to come forward. I don't like people that are gay. I don't like African Americans.
I don't like paying taxes. I have a religious objection to paying taxes.
And we've already seen that in New York City with correction officers not wanting to pay taxes, and they ended up going to jail, losing their jobs. So where do you stop this slippery slope?
It's funny. It's about a broader thing than just this. If you're part of this country, you're part of everything that's part of it. You don't get to pick the different parts and the different groups you want to be with, and the other parts can't be in it. And we dance around this on the edges, but that's so much about this.
What religion to practice?
Of course you can't.
No,
but no one's suggesting that.
Well,
I'm just
that's
suggesting
the argument.
When you hear the argument that I want to pay, if I'm spending my tax dollars, I want to send my kids to private schools. I don't want any of it to go to public schools.
They're not saying that they won't pay taxes.
I know they're
they
not.
They want to use
Richard,
the religious objection.
I'm saying the macro of this, though, is that people want to be able to segregate, in effect, whether it's their dollars, their beliefs, or whatever else. And this idea that we're in this bigger compact as
They
a
want
country.
to obey the laws they like, and they don't
Yeah.
want to obey the laws they don't like,
That's
and
a
that's
more
no way to run a
straightforward way to say
society.
it. Yep. All right, we come back here. Celebrity candidates. I'm curious, honestly, if elected's like when they join their chamber, whether it's up at Albany, in Washington, or wherever else. We're going to talk about that when we come back. No, Dominic says.